Alright, so before we get started on today's notes about linear functions and their transformations, you are going to need 4 different colors of pen or colored pencil. I would prefer probably a colored pencil in case you need to make an erase anything in case you make a mistake. But we do need to have 4 different colors. So if you need to go do that, just pause the video real fast and then come back when you've got all 4 of those. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Question number 1 is asking us to graph the following equations in 4 different colors. So I'm going to start with pink for A. So I am going to start with a y-intercept of 0 based on the slope-intercept form and a slope of 2. So positive 2 over 1 run. And then I'm going to go in the other direction as well, so I have plenty of points. And then I'm going to grab a straight edge and go ahead and connect those points. Okay, so I end up with this line for the pink one. Okay, then I'm going to straight out and I'm going to do a blue for B. So this is y equals x. So again, 0 is going to be my starting point, and then I have a slope of 1 this time, and a slope in the other direction as well. Okay, and then I am going to go ahead and connect those points as well. Okay. I'm going to use an orange for C. So that's going to be, again, starting at a y-intercept of 0, and then rise over run 1/2. And going in the other direction as well. And then I'm going to get my straight edge. And I'm going to connect those points. And then finally, the last color I'm going to do in purple. So again, we start at 0, 0, and I'm going to have 4 as my slope. And I'm going to need my straight edge for that as well. Alright, it's a little easier to see. And I'm going to connect those points. So we end up here with these 4 lines. Okay. All right. So the next question asks us to think, what do you notice about these graphs? So something that you notice might be on these graphs that they are all positive slope. So they're all moving in a positive direction, but they're all different steepnesses. So they're all different steepness there. But basically, I mean, they're all starting at the same, all have same y-intercept of the origin 0, 0. So that's kind of the things that are all that I notice about those 4 equations. Now the next question asks how does changing the slope affect the graph? So what you notice is, hopefully, is that changing the graph affects the steepness of the lines, affects the steepness. So it's asking us to list the graphs in order from the most steep to the least steep. So the most steep is the purple one, which we notice is y equals 4x. Okay. The next steep one down is going to be the pink one, which is y equals 2x. And then next down is the blue one, which is y equals x. And then finally the orange one, which is y equals 1/2 x. So hopefully what you notice here is that the higher this number is, we went 4, 2, 1, 1/2, the less steep that it, or so the smaller that number gets, the less steep that it becomes. Okay, so let's do the same thing here with these 4. Okay, so again, pick your colors. I'm going to start out with pink for my first one, and I'm going to graph y equals 3x. starting with 0, 0 as my y-intercept. I'm using 3/1 for my slope. And then I'm going to connect those points. There's my pink line. Okay, then I'm going to do blue for the next one. Y equals -3x. So here, same thing, but this time I'm going to be going with a different, my slope will be going in a different direction. Okay, and I'm going to graph those points as well. Okay, then I'm going to do orange for the third one, which is y equals x. So just remember that goes just like this. And I'm going to connect those points as well. And then finally, the purple is the last one where we're going to be doing -x. So again, has an origin here, but then we're going in a different direction with our slope. We're going to be going in a negative direction. Okay. So this is kind of an exploration of transformations before we get into the nitty-gritty of what it really means. So question here is, what do you notice happens if your slope is negative? It changes direction. Okay, it goes from moving up and to the right to down and to the right. And so it flips that direction. Okay, so that's an important piece of the puzzle. Now, we're asked to do this one more time. We're going to graph these four as well. So we're going to start with pink again, and I'm going to do 2x. So again, my y-intercept is 0, 0. My slope is 2. So I'm going to plot those points and then connect them so that I can see what I'm doing. Then we're going to do blue for B, which is going to be at 0, 6 this time for my starting point, but still a slope of 2. Okay, and so that's going to be another line. Okay, then we move on to the next color, which is orange, and this time our y-intercept is a -3. Still the same slope though, +2. And we're going to connect those points as well. So like I said, this is going to be an exploration of kind of what these transformations mean and what we're going to be working with. And you've talked about transformations in previous math classes. We're going to do D in purple, starting with 0, -5. You've talked about transformations in 8th grade, and so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this today, but I did want you to kind of see what these transformations mean and kind of what happens when we change certain values from an equation and how that transforms a value. So again, what do you notice about the graph? So they're all parallel, meaning they have the same slope, but they all have different y-intercepts. So just changing the y-intercept just moves the line up and down on the graph. Okay, so that's kind of what we've done here. Okay, so here are the things that we want to talk about real fast. So in the first section, I wanted to kind of cover all this before we go back in detail here. So in the first section, all we did was change the slope. We kept it positive, but what we noticed was that when we change the slope, it changes the steepness of the line. Okay, the higher that number is, the steeper it gets. The closer it gets to 0, the more gradual it becomes, less steep. All right, now down here, all we did was change a slope, but we also changed it from positive to a negative. And what happened was we got these opposite lines where we had this one with one slope, and then it flipped over and went opposite in the other direction but the same slope. Same thing here with the orange and the purple. They're the same steepness, just moving in an opposite direction. So we changed just that positive and negative number in front of the slope. Just between the positive and the negative is all that did. Now here, sorry my orange is a little off since I just bumped my ruler when I was drawing it, but what you'll notice here is that all of these have the exact same slope. They have a different y-intercept. So moving or changing that y-intercept moves these up and down along the line, but it doesn't change the steepness of anything. So what that lets us know is that there are some specific things and changes that get to be made. So before we go on to the last question, let's stop and let's go over one other question or one other set of notes that you have in front of you about linear transformations, and then we'll come back and answer this final question.